let me introduce, thank you, Nat. Thanks, Alan. Let me, Miguel. Thank you. I want to introduce these friends to you. To my immediate left is Sarah Amos. Some of you guys may have seen Sarah. She comes in on time to time to visit family. She's the daughter of Scott and Sarita Amos, brother to Ben, and where's Aaron? There we go. Aaron's right beside, too obvious. Sister to Aaron. So, and then she's just finishing up her master's. You finished it already, didn't you? From
Indiana University.
University. Okay. Yeah. And then Joseph Lugo is probably the most familiar face to you guys, one of our small group leaders. And, basically soccer coach extraordinaire. Yeah, that's one of the things about him. And then this is Kirsten Duick. She's from the Path Foundation from here in Warrenton, and she's one of their senior program officers. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, I may have tipped my hand a little bit since I mentioned that Kirsten is from Path. For you guys that have been around for a while, you know that we applied for a Path grant several months ago for the opportunity to develop a program, a ministry to caregivers. Basically, there are caregivers all in our community across the country, and Joseph could speak to a lot more of this, but that are taking care of older parents, foster children, special needs, that never have had training or received respite. They're under a great deal of stress. It's a tireless job, and it's something that needs support and help. And so we applied for this grant. And so we've been waiting to hear, and so Kirsten has a decision for us. I'm going to let her announce that to us.
The grant has been granted.
Yeah.
We were just absolutely blown away by the thought and the heart and the care that went into that application. The Path Foundation and our partners in the community had just been engaged in thinking about all that we can do, particularly to support senior citizens, but all people who need our aid, and had just come out of a conversation and a decision to be open to and keep our eyes open to opportunities to care for caregivers. And on that very day, the application came in from Cornerstone, and we were just astonished by the quality of the work and the thought and the care that had gone into it. And so we're very, very proud and honored to be your partners in supporting it. It's a grant for a little over $50,000 for caregiver support.
Yeah. Joseph has spearheaded this effort. I know Joseph is a humble guy, but he's done a lot of the legwork, and a lot of the quality and heart you saw was a result of Joe's work. Now, Sarah and I, so we could basically just say, woohoo, we got the grant, and go home, sing a song, and we'll be done. But then we wouldn't have the opportunity, we miss the opportunity to give God the glory, because why? Because he has works that he's prepared in advance, right? And I want you to see how he's been working in this. And it starts basically about 4 years ago. When Tom Gregerson and our elders fashioned a new vision statement that said we wanted to build, part of it, we wanted to build bridges into our community. And we started praying for ways that might happen. And somewhere right around that same period of time, I met Sarah for the first time. And Sarah, what were you studying at Tech?
Yeah, so my undergraduate degree was in human development. And at the time, I think when we discussed, I was probably in my sophomore or junior year at Tech. And I had just started volunteering at adult day services, working with senior adults. So,
And I told Sarah that I'd once seen this deal where they put senior citizens in a daycare with little guys, and the benefits that both the seniors and the children received this was tremendous. And so...
Yeah, and then I said, that happens at adult day services all the time.
Yeah.
So at Adult Day, we have an intergenerational program where we are co-located with a daycare facility, and 3 times a week they get to spend time together, and it's really impactful.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts after that conversation at all?
Yeah, so it's cool to think back. At that time, I was kind of like, that would be cool if I could get a job out of this. That would be great. But again, I was just in the middle of my bachelor's degree, and it was kind of a long way off. It was just kind of that would be nice one day if that worked out.
Okay. So that was about 4 years or so ago. So let's fast forward to the last fall. And Joe, your small group.
Yeah, my wife and I have a small group for couples that are here. And so we decided we were going into a new series. It was on James. And so we literally just went through each of the verses to go through it. And one of the verses just really jumped out at us. And I brought it with. It's James 1:27. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God, the Father, is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unsustained from the world. And so each week, we kind of just kept saying, well, what are ways that we can show our faith out loud? And we just kept praying about it. And just the people in our small group really had a heart for this idea of a ministry. And it kind of started from there.
Yeah. Could you share a little bit, Joe, about your kind of background, how you knew kind of the need a little bit?
I'm in health and human services and focus more on the human services. And I've been working on caregiver programs since about 2000. And so just always had a heart for trying to reach caregivers, because many times you just don't see them. They're silent, and many times they sacrifice themselves and their health for someone else.
And as you began to go outside the group, you found some surprising, maybe, folks that were quickly interested in that, right?
Yes. I can talk about it now or wait?
Yeah, go, absolutely.
Okay, so at the beginning of the year, I started to get this kind of prompting to, hey, would you be interested in applying for a grant? And just to be honest, full disclosure, I was like, I don't have time. I really don't have time for a grant to try to write one. And that's something you just probably, not the wisest response to tell God. And so I found out I was offered a new job, and my telework policy kind of got wiped out. And so now I was going to be taking the VRE to work every day. And so all of a sudden I had all this time now that I could use to work on this grant. So I was quickly like, God, I don't see any other barriers. Let's write this grant. It's a good idea. And so it was just a really good experience. But one of the things I asked was, well, who am I going to send this to? I mean, who's out there? And kind of just prayed about it. And then the first kind of prompting was the Path Foundation. And I had never been to the website. I went to it, and I guess there's a window when grants could be accepted. And the priorities kind of fit with what was going on. And so it was just good timing.
No, that's great. And there's been a team of people, actually, as Joe's started to put together folks, that have background that fit, like Mark Brown had some history in grant writing and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, one of the things you do when you go through the application process, is a great application process. It does kind of, you ask yourself, well, why Cornerstone? Because there are other churches that are bigger than Cornerstone. They're older, and just really started to pray about it. And then this verse kind of just jumped out for me. It said, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." And for me, that really jumped out, that this church has a real heart for caregivers. And we had like an informational meeting. We had like a dozen people show up, and there really was a passion for this. And also a lot of expertise. I wasn't aware of your conversation, but we had, as a project director, we couldn't have created a better project director in Sarah. But then we had Marie and others that were praying for this, and I had no idea. And so it seemed like a really great fit. And also, it fit the priorities of Path. So
Yeah. Kirsten, you got the application. You kind of told us a little bit. Anything you want to add to, what you've shared already from Path's perspective?
Well, I would say a couple of things. One is that it fit even better, I think, than any of us, as you were writing it or as we were first reading it, could possibly have known. That process of thinking about not only how are we called to care for each other, but how are we called to care for those who care, right, was a conversation and a thought process that we were just going through in that moment in real time as you were drafting that application. And so I really do believe that these were two streams that were designed to come together and just in just that moment and in just that way. It's funny, there's a thing sometimes in the philanthropy world where we're coached to say just exactly the passage that you just quoted, strip away whether it's in the font that you expected or in the application format that you expected, and look at the heart of what's being presented. And so we're trained to do that, but I will say we didn't really have to do that in this case because there was such clear evidence of that careful thought that had gone into it. And that gave us just first of all, a tremendous deal of confidence that this community would come together and be able to do the things that it was intending to do, because it had put so much thought and care into it right from the very beginning. And that what was being presented to us was simultaneously exactly what we hoped to see grow in the community, and still a little unconventional. I have never read an application quite like that, that went beyond the first layer into the second layer of what was truly needed in the community. And I've shared with you, when we read those applications, a minimum of 2 staff members look at every one. In this case, we ended up all reading it because the first 2 were so impressed by it. They were like, no, you guys, you have to see this application. It's so strong. So it was one that came through with just tremendous enthusiasm on our part. Yeah, we were just so, like I said, I mean, so proud and so honored actually to get to be part of it just by having received it.
You can tell you like talking to Kirsten. She's so encouraging. All these guys are really encouraging. So back to Sarah. She had this hope. Last what we heard from Sarah, she hoped, oh, wait, maybe I could get a job doing that one day. Well, guess who's going to be the program director for this grant this coming year? Miss Sarah Amos. So Sarah, leading up to this, and we're thrilled because it's like a hand-in-glove kind of thing. It was so obvious. Tell us a little bit about how God was working in you, preparing you for this work.
Absolutely. So after we talked, I was probably my junior year of my undergrad, and I was like not really sure what the next steps look like. And I had a mentor speak a lot of wisdom into my path, which I was very grateful for. I was just going to finish my bachelor's, maybe get a job, and she really encouraged me to pursue a master's degree in recreation therapy, which I've now earned. And I was really grateful for that because she said, you know, you're so passionate about senior adults, but if you go and get more education, you can provide the best care possible to this population that you care for so much. So I applied to Indiana University and enrolled in their online program, and kind of arbitrarily decided to stay in Blacksburg because if you've ever been to Blacksburg, why not? It's amazing. And I kind of struggled with that for a little bit. I was working on my master's, working at Adult Day Services part-time, and also working at Blacksburg Baptist Church as an intern to senior adults. And I struggled for quite a while, just feeling like, man, how does this all fit together? You know, am I in the right place? I don't really see the fruit of this. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I don't really know long-term what this looks like. About a year after I started my master's at Adult Day Services, they came to me and said, hey, we're starting this grant program, and we think that you would be really, really fitting to run it. So they started an educational program for senior adults in the community who are concerned about brain health. And so I got to write all the curriculum, kind of build it from the bottom up. And I say I had a backseat role because I wasn't really steering, but it was so helpful to see how it all kind of pans out from the very beginning. I finished my master's in April, and I just earned my certification as a recreation therapist. And so it's so cool to look back, and as this opportunity came up, I was like, man, it's all kind of starting to fit together. And it's really cool to see how after 2 years of feeling really uncertain that I was where God wanted me to be, when this came up, I was so peaceful about this is where I need to be, and this is what He's prepared me to do next. And I'm really excited to offer my passion for senior adults and just to learn and grow alongside everybody.
So Sarah's going to come. She's going to be moving the end of July. You've already moved? Okay, all right. So you're going to be seeing Sarah. She's going to be a part of us, and she's going to be the director of this program. The grant is for a year, and the idea is to develop a program that hopefully can be multiplied in various other places. So the opportunity for influence, going beyond ourselves, and not only here, is tremendous. So thank you guys so much for your time being willing to share this morning. So will you guys give a round of applause?